Guys, fight commentary chats, maybe Jerry inspired. We'll see where this goes on, but we got a very special guest, Joey Atwell, or Joe Atwell, also known as Alpha Fireworks Display. So welcome, Joe.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
You split your time running an awesome company and training as a fighter. So let's start from the beginning. Did you always think about this? Was this your career path as a kid, or did you kind of fall into it?
No, but if you look back, you would think so. I didn't get into professional fireworks or pyrotechnics. About 5 years ago is when I really dived into it more as a hobby. And then 3 years ago, we created Alpha Firework Displays. But I had a lot of experience backing, from, just like playing with them as a kid, and then also military kind of amplified that quite a bit. And so whenever I decided to go into it more professionally, I had a lot of, I guess, linking pieces that kind of helped put it all together for me. And then once we created Alpha Firework Displays, it just took off from there. And there's been no looking back.
And you grew up in Florida, right? That's part of the reason you could just experiment with fireworks as a kid.
Yeah. It's Florida's a different world down here. You can get away with a lot of stuff, but it is, fireworks in Florida are illegal every day except for 4th of July and New Year's. But it's not really, I don't think it's monitored too heavily, but yeah, so we have to pull permits for every show we do down here. It's not quite the Wild Wild West.
Thanks for clarifying that. And as a kid, do you remember a very memorable July 4th or very memorable New Year's with fireworks?
What is it, the 8th of July now? I think, I don't know, I lose track of the days, but it's we're still recovering from the 4th of July. But even though we do these big massive displays, we always still go back and go out on the street and light mortars, that you can buy from the firework tent, because that's where it all started. And that's where the memories always go back to, or sitting out in the front yard on the street, running out, trying to light 1, 2, 3 at the same time, do little fake finales, all that cool stuff. We would just go and raid the firework tents. And we were always the house that did fireworks in the neighborhood.
So what I'm getting from the Florida law is that when it's legal on those days, you have to buy from specific vendors. You have to go to the firework tents and buy them.
You can go to the tents, you can order, you can have them year round. It's not like in, I don't know, I think California, if you get pulled over with and you go to jail type deal, that's not the thing. It's only illegal to light them. So you can buy them online and have them shipped to your home. You can go to the tents. We have fireworks stores. You can acquire them legally. I mean, as long as it's a legal seller throughout the year. And then it's just illegal to light them except for the 4th of July, New Year's.
That makes sense. And I think I understand the rhyme and the reason for the law, because again, Florida's very hot and Florida's got a lot of nature. So you got to be careful, right? The authorities who could put out potential accidents have to be prepared. That's why you got to limit the number of days.
Correct. And we have a lot of, natural locations for sea turtles, and then, the lights and stuff, that's something that we really we encounter that a lot for our firework displays. But then we also have droughts down here as well, and the last thing we need is to light the state of Florida on fire in the middle of a drought. So, because it gets really, I would probably, every year we go through a drought, it seems, from, March and April, May, somewhere around there. We just always seem to be in a real bad drought, and it doesn't take a lot. I mean, we can still do firework displays because we permit them, but we catch stuff on fire all the time. So those months of the year, so we have to have the fire department, and we have to have all of our water cannons and stuff. We contain it very well, but it's no doubt you're going to light the grass on fire that time of the year.
That makes a lot of sense. So when did you start your martial arts training?
I guess, if you consider wrestling as much, than in high school, in the 8th grade, transitioning from middle school into high school, I started wrestling and wrestled throughout high school, missed about a year with an injury. And then, so that's when I kind of did that. And then while I was in the military, I did a little bit of jujitsu and just like combat, close combat training, stuff like that. Nothing too crazy. But I stepped away and I got really out of shape, really unhealthy, really, really chunky for about 7 years. And I just got back heavily into martial arts just over a year ago. and I got into it more so to lose weight, not even to compete, but my competitive nature kind of kicked in. And so once my coach felt comfortable enough to kind of turn me loose into that aspect, then there's been no looking back. I'm competing all the time.
Do you think your competitive nature came from all the wrestling training in high school, or do you think it was before that?
I've always been competitive. Like it doesn't matter and part of me kind of knew once I got into it, I'm like, I'm doing it to be healthy, but I just know I'm going to end up wanting to compete in it. And so, but yeah, I've always been competitive. It doesn't matter what it is. Any sport, any hobby I've ever done, I've wanted to compete against other people. And I don't know, I just enjoy it.
How many years were you in the military?
I was in the military for 8 years.
Wow. Well, thanks for your service, man. That's awesome.
It's a great 8 years.
And what years were there, if you don't mind me asking?
I was in from 2010 to 2018.
Oh, okay. So let me think about this. Iraq was still going on at the time, huh?
Yeah, I deployed to Afghanistan though. Iraq was kind of finished up, and Afghanistan was more of the theater while I was in. So yeah, that's where I went.
Was jujitsu part of every person's training in the military, or was this something you had to kind of request?
No, kind of. So, and again, it wasn't something that I did like full time. It was just like, especially when you're preparing to deploy, everyone goes through combat training. It just depends on what you're doing, depends on how much combat training you get, I guess. And then, but my captain in the military was a Penn State wrestler. So he was a big, so we would always train together too. So that's where a lot of, I guess my extracurricular training came from, if you will. And so anytime we could find a mat to wrestle around on, we would do that.
You got out of the military, and what did you do immediately afterwards?
Right after I got out of the military, I moved to Georgia. And I lived near the Atlanta area for about 7 years. And I kind of bounced around from job to job over there, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and ended up getting into pest control is what I ended up doing mostly up there. And I have a pest control business as well that we still, operate in Georgia. But I did that for a while and created a company up there. And that's where I was focusing more on climbing the ladder business. I got close to 300 pounds, just looked like a big, I just didn't look healthy. My blood pressure was going crazy. I was having all sorts of issues. And so, yeah, when we moved back to Florida, I really decided, to focus more on my health again. And then that's whenever I found Primal Striking. And I took off right away. It wasn't even like hey, I'd like to start classes. It was like, hey, I'm self-employed and I'm very seasonal busy, so I've got a lot of free time. So let's throw me in 5 days a week and see if you can't kill me.
Wow.
Yeah, I was doing private lessons for 5 days a week.
Do you remember the first class? What was it like?
Yeah, it was awful. I threw up everywhere. It was no bueno. I went in there thinking I was tough, thinking, like everybody, I guess. So my very first class, I didn't even start jujitsu first. I started Muay Thai, is what I went in for originally. And I have a video somewhere of like my first week, and I always look back on it and look back to, kind of where we're at now. And it's like, man, I was in bad shape there. So, but it's been a big change, that's for sure.
Let's talk about when you decided to do your first competition. What was that like?
Yeah, so my first competition, I believe, was a PKB Muay Thai. I'm trying to think if it was that or jiu-jitsu. I want to say it was a PKB, and that was also my first like kind of weight cut since wrestling. And
Wow.
so I kind of but with the PKB, you weigh in the same morning that you do your match. And I don't think I dropped a lot. I think I cut like 4 pounds, 5 pounds of water weight just to hit the target. But man, I felt it big time. So I ended up winning the match, but I was just very tingly and lightheaded. It was kind of an eye opener on that. So,
How much weight did you usually have to cut back in the day when you were wrestling?
usually about 10 pounds.
Woo. But
Yeah.
as a younger person, it's easier.
Yeah, it is. And I cut weight more in my younger, like freshman, sophomore, junior year, I want to say, because I wrestled up my senior year just because it was better for the team, or the way the team was stacked. It just made sense for me to wrestle up, made us a stronger team. So,
That makes sense.
yeah.
And while you were going to Primal Striking, you already had the fireworks business and the pest control
Yeah.
business.
Yep. Yep. So,
And are you naturally good at balancing all this stuff, or is it something you had to learn too?
yeah, I don't like I don't like to be stagnant. I have to have a lot of stuff going on. So that makes me feel more comfortable. If I don't have a lot going on, I start feeling uncomfortable. And so, yeah, I enjoy it. But to be honest, I've learned to surround myself around great people. So they make it really easy too. So even though it sounds like a lot going on, I mean, the pest control business, I have someone that basically runs that for me. I maybe work 2-3 hours a week with that, just signing paperwork or on a phone call asking how things are going. And then down here, I have an awesome team as well. I mean, so I do travel. I drive a lot. That's mostly what I do: driving to sites, talking to people, whining and dining people, and then ultimately, I still go to almost every single one of the fireworks shows that we do. But I've learned to kind of step back from trying to be the labor intensive person and more so on the management side of things, and that makes it a lot easier.
How did you find the team to kind of make it possible to be the management guy?
Yeah, I try to find people that aren't super trained and they're set in their ways. I try to find young people, young talent, not like fresh out of high school, but like fresh, like a college graduate that's ready to get their life started, or somebody that just got married, or somebody that just had a kid, like someone that's motivated to do better. And I prefer to have someone, if I'm training somebody to be a salesperson, I'd much rather them have no sales experience and let me, train them the way I want. And that seems to be the winning ticket. The person that runs my pest control business for me, she worked with me and then for me about 8 years before I gave her the position. But yeah, I mean, we just kind of blend together. And I like to think I'm a pretty easy person to work for. I'm not a jerk boss, and I give a lot of time off and a lot of leeway, and I don't micromanage. So a lot of people naturally just tend to want to, they just do good.
I can tell interacting with you, I can tell you're very easy to get along with. And I think that not only breeds loyal employees, but it breeds employees who aren't stressed out, right? Which is important.
Yeah. I've never, it's something that they always can reach out if they need something. I never had an employee quit on me before. Turnover is not really something that we experience. I've had some people that have gone on to do bigger and better things, but it was very much a mutual, like, go do it, you'd be silly not to type situation, so but yeah, it's both sides. Firework is what takes up most of my time, but yeah, that's by choice, because I mean, who doesn't want to hang around fireworks all the time?
Another thing that's really refreshing is there's so much complaint, and I don't blame Gen Z for saying this, that every job they try to apply to requires a lot of experience already, but they're just out of college or they're just out of high school. How do they get the experience? It's like a catch-22. And we at least have one employer here who's not about that. It's like, no, you learn on the job. So let me find a person with a good attitude and let me train the person. So Joe, I love hearing that. That's so refreshing. There's still good employers out there.
Oh yeah. And I was in that position, I was out of the military and I couldn't even get a job. I had 8 years of military experience, and the first thing I tried to do was go and be a police officer. I'm like, they didn't want me. And so now they would take anybody, but that was a blessing in disguise there. But yeah, that was the first thing I tried to do: go to Atlanta and get on the Atlanta Police Department. I had combat experience. I was fresh out of the military, great shape, but they were looking for other things at the time. But so I don't know. I went through it. I worked a bunch of $7 an hour, $8 an hour jobs, and because I couldn't find anything. And so, yeah, I look more for the personality, more so than the experience. Honestly, I don't even care to look at a resume most of the time. I can sit down, take somebody out to lunch, have them over for dinner, go go play some golf or something. You know what I mean? Like just hang out with them for a couple of days. And I feel like that's a little bit better of a way to find somebody that you can actually work with.
Yeah, I am 100% in agreement with what Joe just said. I mean, if anybody ever wants to help me out with my YouTube channels, I'm the same.
Yeah.
I won't even care what your education, your resume is. I've actually done this before. I just give them my secrets and I see if they even read it.
Yep.
And you know what? 99% of them don't read it. And then I'm like, okay, that's the screening. I don't care if you have an experience. I just want you to read something. Like I've written down my notes, read it, right? It's that simple. I don't care what. Yeah, it's really refreshing. See, this is why I wanted to interview Joe. So for someone like Joe, who basically has 2 businesses and he's a fighter, it's like I knew me and him had certain wavelengths. I'm using like LA terms. Our wavelengths are the same.
Yeah, and give me just a second. I'm actually at my daughter's school right now. We're about to go buy her some uniforms around 10, and they just pulled up. So we're doing this quick.
Cool.
I'm doing an interview real quick. I'll be over in just a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Hi, baby.
That's awesome.
Cool.
So, okay, let's talk more about. So you did your first fight.
Yep.
How did it feel after the first fight?
Are you talking about the first Sonda fight or my first fight in general?
Your first fight ever, and then we can talk about the Sonda fight.
Oh, okay, yeah. So the PKB, man, it was intense actually. So because like we're going through the PKB, and the guy I for whatever reason I always get. I mean, my weight class and everything, I'm kind of a stockier guy, so everyone's always taller than me usually. And so I was doing Muay Thai here, and the guy was a little bit taller than me, which makes it a little bit harder to get in, I guess would be the you just so but you're going in and they're like, hey, it's a PKB, don't go 100%, this is more for, well, we went in and this dude come out like swinging for the fences, and so I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna swing, and like we got separated and kind of talked to like 3 times throughout the match. Like there was just a couple of times where I don't know, we just kept laying into each other. It was both of our first match too, so I don't know if there was a little bit, but I'm like sitting there like, he'd clock me and I go look at my coach and be like, dude, like that was not a 70% hit. Like he reared back, and so I don't know. We had a good time though. We ended up shaking hands, talked afterwards. It was a good thing, but we got separated and we got our hands slapped a couple of times for going more full contact than we were supposed to. And but it was good. I think it was just a 2-round match. If if it was 1-1, you go to the third, but I won the first 2, so it ended up working out good. But I was tired at the end of it. I had not very much control because we were just going kind of full speed the whole time. And then after that, I think I did 2 or 3 jiu-jitsu tournaments, and then another PKB, and then the Sonda match. That's pretty much the extent of my experience so far.
The progression sounds pretty good, and it sounds like that first PKB match almost made you realize, oh, if someone goes 100%, I can do it too, right?
Yeah.
It prepared you for, okay, when I want to do fighting where it could go to 100%.
Oh yeah, yep. I looked over at my coach, and like when he seen, he was just like, return, like he was like, if he's gonna come and go back at him type deal. So we had it was fun. It was a great experience, and by the second round, well, I think we both kind of figured out, like the first round was very much like nerves and adrenaline, and then the second round we both kind of figured it out a little bit, and he tanked a little bit before I did, so that was nice. Like the last part of the second round, I was able to kind of just land a bunch of anything that I wanted ultimately, but so yeah.
So last time we talked, for those of you watching, you can check out that interview. Last time I talked to Joe, he was ready for his Sonda match. So obviously it was a match that went very well for you, and your game plan really worked. And tell me about what went on during the fight.
There was a lot of things that I was thinking about during that one. One, Arby was such a nice freaking dude, man. Did you interview him? Yeah, you interviewed him. He's just a nice guy. And so a part of me was kind of hoping that he was going to come out and be a jerk at weigh-ins or something like that. And no, he come out, shake my hands. Hey man, let's have a drink after the fight. I look forward to it. I'm like, super sweet, like super cool dude. And but yeah, we went into it, and my biggest thing that I was worried about was the nerves. That was my first big, that, and we were doing the cold sparks and all that stuff with it. So I was wanting to make sure our equipment was working as the event was going on, and that was my biggest thing. So I went into the first round on that, and I was trying to pace myself a little bit because I didn't want to get an adrenaline dump or kind of just lose all my gas in the first round. And so looking back, I felt pretty good throughout the match. I wish I left a lot still in the reserve kind of towards that. I mean, I was breathing hard at the end, but I still had a bit. The thing is about that, it was just so intense that really you're just hyper focused, like watching the video, everything that happened. Like I didn't know that there was a ring girl. I didn't even hear the announcer. I didn't see the people, you know what I mean? Like you're just in the ring and hyper focused in that. And just, the only person I seen was Arby. And now I know going into the next one, I'll be a little bit more experienced on that aspect of it. We're also doing an extra amount of cardio because that's going to be, I just want that to be the last thing on my mind. So we're hitting this fight camp super hard, and there's going to be a little bit more pressure. I had a lot of takedowns in that match, but I didn't follow through on them, any of them. I just kind of dropped them and walked away. And I really regret not being a little bit more aggressive on my takedowns, putting a little bit more pressure, a little bit more pain behind them. And then my boy James came out and freaking slammed this guy down on the match and TKO'd him basically with his shoulder. I'm like, you did exactly what I was regretting not doing. So, it was, other than that, it was a great experience. And, I've been chomping at the bit. I can't wait for this next one.
And I have to emphasize to everyone watching that Joe also did the fireworks display for the show that he fought in. I can't even imagine some of the extra stress that you were under. I'm not going to talk too much smack, but the venue had some issues, right? And so there were things out of your control. I definitely saw that there were times when the fireworks weren't turning on or something. It's I didn't see the fireworks go do the things that they were supposed to for most of the show. And I'm sure that was in the back of your mind. Thank goodness your match was in the beginning, so then you can worry about that stuff later.
Yeah. Yep. I was supposed to be the first. There was an exhibition match, I think, that happened that ended up getting pushed before us. But yeah, no, there was some power issues. Again, something that tested well, but is out of our control. And, it is what it is on that. But it still looked, it got the point across. It was pretty cool. And so, but yeah, it was, people were a little bit closer than I thought they were going to be to, because we weren't allowed to put the fireworks where we were thinking originally because they didn't want them there. And so there was just a couple of concerns, but at the end of the day, it was all cold spark machine. Like nobody was going to we were never going to burn anybody or catch anybody on fire or anything like that. That wasn't my concern. I just didn't want to scare anybody or get any sort of soot or debris on their clothes or something, little things like that. But it's stuff you still worry about,
It's interesting because I talked to Arby because Arby stayed around. He's such a great guy. He stayed around to support the other fighters, right? And I talked to him, and he told me he thought, since I was commentating for the live stream, he thought I was actually commentating for the audience. So it threw him off a little. He was expecting to hear my voice talk about what was going to happen while he's fighting. And he said when he ddidn't hear it, it threw him off a little. So he was prepared to hyper focus so my voice didn't distract him. And then the fight came. He's like, where's Jerry's announcing? So it's all these things you never think about. This is why I always tell people, never, ever get mad at the fighter for whatever performance, because you don't know what's going on. The fact that they showed up and put themselves out there, always give them credit. I told Arby afterwards, I'm like, as much as Joe looked like he dominated most of the fight, there were moments, especially when he found his ranges. And if Arby found his ranges better, it would have been a more competitive fight. But yeah, I told Arby, I'm like, he had his moments, man, but definitely your pressure, your wrestling it totally threw him off.
Yeah. No, Arby's a good dude. Hopefully he sticks in it. I don't know if he's on this card or not, or if he's planning on competing anymore. But no, yeah, he definitely had his moments. And he was a little bit tall. I think he was 6'1". I'm 5'10" for reference. He had a couple inches of reach on me, and he did use it a couple of times for sure. So, but yeah, no, that was fun.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
exactly.
it's against me or I get to watch him go against somebody else in the same weight class. I mean, he should definitely stick with it.
Yeah. And so tell me about fight camp now. You mentioned the cardio. What is the day-to-day like in fight camp besides working on the cardio?
Well, so to be honest, I mean, the last couple of weeks have been strictly business focused with 4th of July and everything. So I've been training. The last couple of weeks have only been like once a day. I mean, not once a day, but once a week training because I just had to squeeze it in where I can. And, but now we're going to be, I think my fight camp for the next 3 weeks is going to be Monday morning. I'll do a strength and conditioning. Then Monday around 11 will be Sonda. Then Tuesday morning. So right now I'm getting ready to go do Sonda. And then right after that, I'll do jujitsu in a group class. And then Wednesday mornings will be Sonda. Wednesday nights will be sparring. And I'll start with jiu-jitsu sparring for an hour and a half, and then I'll switch to, Muay Thai sparring for an hour and a half. And then Thursdays are going to be, let me see. Thursday mornings are Sonda, Friday mornings are Sonda. And then any night I can make it to go spar, I'll spar.
Wow. Yeah, sounds like a full thing. I mean, for any fight, you got to be prepared, right? It sounds like you're going to be very prepared.
Yeah. So on the evenings that I can't, make it to sparring and training and stuff like that, it's just going to be, the basics, kind of like high intensity, like 60, 120s, sprint for 60 seconds, straight walk for 120 seconds, sprint for 60 for as long as I can, just gas myself out. Feet beating it out on the road running. So
I'm going to borrow that training method. 60, 120 you called it. I'm going to start doing that.
Yep. Yeah. It's a good, I've done that for years, man. That was a wrestling thing. That was a military thing. That's something that I've kept in, and to help with my cardio for, it helps a lot. It'll make you sick. The 120 seconds goes away a lot quicker than you would think. The 60 seconds last a lot longer than you would think.
Yeah. The reason I am very inspired by that is because I'm still recovering from a very bad ankle injury. And one of the ways to recover from ankle injury is to run. But I want to make it interesting, right? It's like, how do you get your ankle to work better? You have to vary it up. You can't just run and sprint. You can't just run long distance. You have to vary it up. And that way you can learn to keep the right alignment, the right posture, the right everything, right? And I'm borrow this. I'm actually going to write this down right now. See, like, Joey, you're teaching me so much, man. 60, 120, 60 run, 120 walk, and then repeat.
Yep. And for as long as
exactly.
you tolerate it.
You're also doing the fireworks display again, right? So tell me about that. What do you have planned for the second venue?
Yeah, so the second venue is going to be too low for cold sparks. So we're not going to be able to do sparks this time. We're going to probably switch it over and do cryonite, which is like CO2. If you've ever seen people coming out of like a stadium, like a football team coming out, the big white, like the fog, like the high intensity fog that comes out is what this one. Yeah. And
that's going to be really cool.
Yep. And then we may do some low-lying fog, something like that. Just try to get some different effects in there.
Dude, I love this. Oh, that's so cool. So like your company does a lot of different types of displays.
Oh yeah. We're trying to get more into the event sector, you know what I mean? So, it's not just big firework displays. We do like for weddings and stuff. Yeah, we'll do the firework displays, but then we'll do like dancing on the fog, or dancing on the clouds with low-lying heavy fog in the dance room, or lasers or lights or parties. I mean, we do we do pretty much everything, but really trying to get more into like the sports and entertainment side of the special effects things. You know what I mean? And so, for instance, boxing, MMA, sauna matches, stuff like this. It's a great it's just fun to do. It's not super complicated. It's just fun. And then, sporting events, baseball games, hockey games, football games, stuff like that. We already do a good amount of sporting events for football, but, we're trying to get into obviously as many avenues as we can. That's part of growing a business.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the evolution of Alpha Firework Displays. Did you start it just with you, or did you start it with a business partner? How did it get started? How did it grow?
Yeah, no, I started it with me. And so I ended up going and I was working for another company who ended up burning me at the end of the day. I'd probably still be working with them as a contractor if it wasn't for that. I'm a pretty, I try to be, so I'd still be doing pest control if I didn't get fired from that job. You know what I mean? Like it's everything, like things have always happened to me to push me in to the direction that, ultimately I need to go. And so I got burned one 4th of July when I did a lot of work for somebody and got burned on it and said, you know what? Well, I'm not working for him anymore, but I still want to keep doing fireworks. Let's go ahead and create my own company, which I know how to do that, and see how it goes. Like maybe we'll just do it part-time. I've still got the pest control thing going. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but we're going to try. And so I created the logo, created the website, created, the company, ultimately got insurance, did all these things, and then started advertising. And the phone started blowing up, man, just blowing up. The thing about the firework industry is everyone's so old school in it. And so me bringing in new age marketing and advertising, people don't see that. And so, they were starting to see it. And so we took off quick. And the very first phone call that I got was from a guy wanting to sell his firework equipment from a company, that he had just got shut down in California. He had shipping containers full of firework equipment. And so I was actually able to start out. I cashed out my 401k and, we went and bought it all up. And so I was able to start up and be, within 3 months, capable of doing some of the largest shows of any other company in Florida. And so it just, after that, it was like, all right, well, we've got the equipment. Now it's time to do what we do best and get the customers. And so, the first year was amazing. Second year was, we about doubled that. Third year is, looking to do that again. So we're scaling at a good rate, but we're kind of at the point now, to be honest, I'm thinking about just saying, okay, I'm comfortable where we're at. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to travel all over the country and do fireworks. I do it for some clients. I'll go to different states for, like some of our event companies, but I don't think I want to like advertise, because then you're opening up a whole nother can of worms. You've got to follow, right now I've got Florida state law and federal law that locked in. If I go to Texas, then I'm going to have to relearn all that and try to balance the two and hope I don't mess up, because if you break a law, it's not just like a misdemeanor with explosives. You break a federal law, you're in big trouble. So thinking about keeping it right where I'm at, because it's doing extremely well. And, I'm able to do all the things that I want to do.
Great things to pull from that little segment is that one, when you recognize an opportunity, when to go all in, right? And you got that guy who just wanted to sell you equipment. You're like, okay, this is once in a lifetime. Let's get the equipment. So that's something you recognized and it was correct. And then the second part is, okay, when do you go, all right, let's stop expanding. Let's start just taking what we have and perfecting it, right? And so you're at that point right now. And like, how do you recognize them? And I'm that's a challenge for me right now. It's like, okay, like when do you stop expanding and be like, okay, let's take what I have, let's make it even better, and also let's build other things, which is something you want to do too. So yeah, let's expand on that.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, it's especially from like the sales and the business side of things. You just want to scale, go, and it's hard to pump the brakes for a second. But at the end of the day, like, you also have to acknowledge when you're expanding too quickly and things are moving too fast. And that's kind of, like, we're at the point now where we've got an awesome team, but now we need to like heighten up everything, really get our protocols, SOP, guidelines, like everything. You can't just go from a 3-year-old company to a 10-year-old company because you can scale it right there that quick. You have to build the blocks. And so I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to pump the brakes because we have been scaling quite fast. And so, and I don't see anything that could, that could impact that. I mean, COVID, obviously, if something like that happened again, then, that hurts all entertainment. And so, which we are an entertainment company, but I don't know. It's, we're going to really kind of sharpen everything up and then make a decision. Also got to check with my team and, our guys and say, hey, look, if we do decide to do this, a couple years, are you willing, are you going to want that commitment to travel and do all these things? And so we'll cross that bridge. But right now, I think we're going to pump the brakes for a couple of years and really just embrace what we've already accomplished.
Obviously you did advertising and you're
Mhm.
still doing advertising. How else do you find clients and prospective people to do your business with?
Yeah, so it depends on what we're looking for. So if we're looking for gender reveals, then obviously we'll throw one of our awesome gender reveal photos up, and we take that straight to Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, like social medias. People share, hashtag it, people share the mess out of it, and then we get a lot of leads from that. If we're looking for high-end clients, we'll usually do, like, if we're looking to target a municipality or a baseball team, we'll figure out what type of organizations they're involved with and join those organizations and try to slide in like, hey, we're not, make it seem like we really weren't targeting them, even though they are our target, and do trade shows, stuff like that. And then, Google Ads is also a very good one. Uh, it's just Google Ads, you just got to be careful because Google will suck your money away from you super quickly. So you really have to have your Google Ads optimized. So we started that really slowly, and then turn it up. Obviously, like 3 months before 4th of July, we're pumping it. A few months before New Year's Eve, we'll pump it. But other than that, we're just coasting throughout the rest of the year. And between all of those, and then word of mouth is a huge one. Once we go out to St. Pete Beach and blow them away with a 30-minute firework display. How many executives, car dealerships, business owners are sitting there watching that show on their yachts or boats, and then they go and look, who did that show? Okay, Alpha Fire. And then we get a call, hey, we seen your show in St. Pete. So it's a lot of that. So with most business, there's an infinite amount of ways to grow it and find your clients. You just got to pick which ones you want to go down and hope you get it right.
The industry you're in, what's beautiful about it is it speaks for itself. You do a good display, people are going to be bedazzled, right? That's the thing. So yeah, that's something that word of mouth is very, very powerful because, and word of mouth too, virtually, if people see someone on Instagram post what you guys do, then it's like, whoa. So yeah, word of mouth, both virtually and by person, works really well for the industry you're in.
Yep, it does. Not so much for the pest control. So that's like two different things. Like pest control, there's 30 to 50 different pest control companies in your zip code. You know what I mean? Fireworks, there's 5 of us that are big enough to do what we do in the state of Florida. You know what I mean? And so like I've got my nearest competitors 40 miles away versus the pest control. They might even be on the same street. I don't know. And so and they pop up and go away, and they're not, they're always trying, and your clients are always, if someone comes with a $5 deal that's better, they're going to drop you. So that's a little bit more dog eat dog too. And we have to spend a lot more money year round on advertising. I mean, I drop 5 times the amount of money on advertising for the pest control than I do the fireworks. And so it just depends on the business.
That's so funny. They call it, what is it called? Pareto, right? That's the Pareto principle right there.
Yep.
Like that's the 20% you spend on advertising for the fireworks pays off for the 80% that the value it brings.
100%. Yeah. So it's 2 different animals. One's dog eat dog. One, like the firework, a lot of us help each other out. Hey man, I got this huge project. You've got this, I got this. You want to partner on it, and we'll tackle it. And we'll do that. And so pest control, you try to call another pest control company to help you with a job, they're going to take your client as quick as they can and pop your tire on the way out.
For people that ask why, and you please add to this once I explain my take on this, but some people are like, why would you still stick with the pest control? My answer to that is you have to have a diversified stream, so to speak, right? People, right. I kind of, some of my happiest times was like 2022 when I had few sources of income coming in. That was like, yeah, some of them weren't giving me as much as the others, but the fact that you have that flexibility / you can pivot when needed, that's very important. If you only put your eggs in a few or even one basket, that's when you're the most stressed out. Even if it pays off, the back of your head, you're like, kind of thing. So I think you probably agree with that.
I do. At one point I had 4 businesses going, and that was a little bit too, because I was at that point, it was, I don't know, about 6 years ago, and I just wasn't mature. I was not willing to hand over the reins, so I was trying to manage them all myself. It was awful, and kind of I learned to back off of that a bit. but yeah, and the other thing with, why have multiple too, with the firework is such an easier business and more profitable than pest control. It's also my loyalty to the people that built the pest control company with me. I'm not going to just shut that down. And so I don't even, as long as that company breaks even and I can pay the team, and like that's bad business thought, but in the back of my mind, like obviously it's a profitable business, and if it started going downhill, I would get involved. But truthfully, and I hope they don't watch this interview, if they were breaking even and I was able to pay them and they were able to keep their lives going, that I would be perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Let's talk about the upcoming fight. Have you done any research / is there footage of your opponent?
I can't find any. I've looked. And so, with Arby, he trained at a gym, and they would post a couple videos of him, and I was able to get somewhat of an idea. I haven't been able to find anything on my opponent for this one. I really haven't done much digging either. I just know he's taller. I think he's 6'3". He's coming from Arizona, I believe. And so he's going to, be traveling quite a way with a Sonda team out of Arizona State, I believe. Something I've heard a couple of different things, but no, the only thing I know about him is he's 6'3", and I've seen his photo on our fight posters, and we're gonna just train to fight a tall guy. So,
Yeah, and it looks like if he's from a Sonda team, he's Sonda trained, right? So this guy might be anticipating some takedowns that you have.
Yep. I look forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what he's not anticipating is you're not just a Sonda guy, you're a wrestler, right?
Yeah.
And it's a different beast, the takedowns that you have compared to an average Sonda person.
Right. Yeah. It's, and I've gotten a lot, stiffer with my age. I mean, I'm 33. I'm not as limber as I used to be. I see it. It's a two, but I don't feel it yet, but I see it. And so that's one thing that we're trying to, tighten up is my technique a little bit too. But I recognize when I have a takedown as good as I ever have, so like I'm still able to see it. I just got to be able to commit to it, and ultimately don't be lazy whenever I do commit to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I can imagine, because now footage of you exists, right? Your opponent definitely has seen. So he's probably going to see, okay, there were times when Arby could find the distance on you. So
Right.
I'm sure you're going to have to prepare for that. Okay, he's probably going to try to play the distance game with
Right.
you. So it's like, how do you bypass that?
Well, the good thing is the way that I fought that fight's nowhere near how I plan on fighting this fight. So, it's going to be, I definitely am going to go, I'm just going to be a little bit more aggressive. I pushed with Arby quite a bit, but I wasn't as violent as I needed to be. And so we're going to bring a little bit more violence into this one. And I'm also not going to plan on being as, I don't know, as stiff. We're going to be bouncing around quite a bit. I'm going to be a little bit more relaxed. I've done it before now. I know what to expect. So we're going to be a little bit more fine-tuned, I think, going into this one.
Yeah, and the fact that you're working on your cardio a lot, it's going to help you move a little. So I'm really looking forward to Joey 2.0.
Yeah. I've been training with a bunch of unorthodox fighters, pulling a little bit from here, there, and I just I didn't like how stiff I was in that match. Arby really could have he could have caught me a couple of times. So I got lucky that I happened to be taking a shot or something when he threw that power punch that just missed me and stuff like that. So but yeah, this will be a very, very exciting fight.
Yeah. And what I love talking to Joe or Joey is that he's very self-reflective, right? This is why you've ran successful businesses. To be a successful fighter, you have to be cerebral. And I can tell, like, you transferred this skill very well from fighting to running a business, etc.
Yeah. All the same, if you want to be the best, you gotta practice what you preach. I take in business, I have mentor people that I watch and YouTube video places that and I'm always a sponge. I don't, if I want to sit down, and I'll sit down and talk to an 80-year-old guy who has no idea about modern day marketing and listen to how he ran his business back then, and maybe I can pull something from that. I like listening to podcasts just the same way that I do with fighting. I'll watch tutorials online, I'll watch videos, and it's always just trying to sharpen up a little bit, and not being so dang stuck in my head thinking that I'm the greatest to ever do it, and not listen. That's the quickest way to to go out of business, and that's the quickest way to get knocked out.
Exactly. I guess this is a good last question to ask you is you're obviously good at delegating. How
Mhm.
do you develop that skill? I think I want to maybe highlight this part because I've had bosses that micromanage. I've had many bosses that micromanage to the point where either it made me leave the company or it made them get fired, right? So how do you learn to delegate?
I've seen a lot of bad leadership. I've had a lot of bad leadership, whether it be in private sector or military. You see really bad in both. And I learned more from the mistakes that other people were making more so than, I, than what they were doing right. I learned more from what they were doing wrong and was able to put when I got into those positions, I just made sure that I never did that. So, like instead of, telling my sales guy exactly what he needs to do every day, he'll come to me and be like, hey, should I do this? I'm like, well, what do you think? What's your gut telling you? And let him kind of spill it out. Like, you just answered your question. And if there's something we need to tweak or something like that, then we'll go behind and fix it. Same with my pest control business. If they're having a bad month, then I'll get involved. We'll go through, we'll sit down, and it's not like I'm screaming and yelling. We're gonna sit down, we'll go and have a nice lunch somewhere or something like that. And we'll just talk like normal people. And so I think people not being on edge, leading with respect instead of fear, I guess is the easiest way to say it. I'd rather my team, I don't even like calling them my employees. I'd rather my team respect me than fear me. Honestly, I think that kind of goes into the fighting world as well. I'm not going out, I'm not going to spit in some dude's face at weigh-in. You know what I mean? I want to be cool with them. I want them to respect me. I'll respect them. And then, it's a combat, it's a sport, it should be respected. But, as far as delegating, yeah, that's something that I learned the hard way. I just gassed myself out trying to do it myself. And then once I finally got comfortable, I turned the reins over and realized that people, who respect you and want to do well for you, they're going to put it, they work harder than I would most of the time. You know what I mean? And so seeing that and being able to coach them and also develop them into being better people, I don't know, that's a different sense of pride. It kind of, growing a business and making money is nice, but then growing people and teaching them how to be adults and have a nice family and life it's a secondary, just a more pure happiness, I guess, that I get out of it.
And the reason I asked this is because, first of all, Joey and I are around the same age. And when we were growing up, that was when the age of like the solopreneur started really becoming trendy, right? And that's great. I mean, it caused me to do what I do, but I think it also kind of made us forget the other side of the equation, which is that it's really hard to build Rome by yourself, right? For lack of a better word. And so a lot of us, we're middle millennials. That's the word I gave us. A lot of us middle millennials, we got, I don't want to say brainwashed, but we definitely got a little bit guided, a little bit astray by that idea of the solopreneur. And the reason why Joey really inspired me is that he managed to break out of that very quickly. He realized very quickly, okay, I need people. I need to depend on people just like they need to depend on me. We need to build a team. And that's why Joe's gone so far with multiple businesses and his fighting career. So like, that's why, Joe, I want to say really clearly, you inspired me a lot. And I am trying to break out of the solopreneur thing that's worked well for me, but I know it's not worked completely well because obviously I hit a plateau. And so part of why I want to feature and Jerry Inspired is I'm trying to learn from people. Like I'm a sponge too, but I also have patterns that I need to kind of like slowly get out of, right? So
it's tough, but when you break out of them, I mean, get you a good team and watch walls start getting broken down. That's the easiest way. Like it's kind of like, if you ever done anything and you're like, man, why did I not do this years ago? It's just kind of like an eye-opening thing. And so you get you a good team and things that used to be super complicated become very, very easy.
Exactly. So in the future, maybe next time we do an interview, let's interview you when you are next fight camp. Let's interview your team too. Maybe like we'll interview your coaches and then we'll interview some people from your company. Let's do that. That would be a really good third interview.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, just we can make that happen. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, This is Joe, aka Joey Atwell, and I will put links. If you can, send me your pest control. If there's a website too, send me that too. I could put that in the link.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Yeah, and I'm sure your daughter wants to spend time with you, so we'll let you get to your daughter. Thanks for doing this interview while your daughter, need to get picked up, man.
Yeah, no, you're good. We're just gonna go in and get her some uniforms for this new school she started. We've been trying to get her into this academy for a little bit, and we got her in. So we're gonna go get her school uniform and get her education, and then that way she can take over the firework reins one day if she wants to.
Wow, I like how you think, man. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, appreciate it. It was good talking to you, and yeah, let me know when you want to do another one. What do we got? 3 weeks, and we'll be seeing each other in person. And
yep,
awesome, man. I look
so
forward.
Guys, for those of you watching, we will see Joe in person. So stay tuned for another interview in person in the future.
Yeah, sounds great. Appreciate it, buddy.